Alright, so this is a presentation document that was generated by Gemini. It is quite simple, but it should get the job done. But this one is a bit different. I would say the visuals are a lot better, and also if you want to impress your audience with great visuals, then this is the kind of style that you might want to use. And again, this document, this presentation was created by Gemini, and the same is true for this Google Slides document. This one also created by Gemini, and these are some examples of documents or presentation slides that were generated by some AI models from Google, from Gemini. And you can do something like this. You can also provide a simple topic, a simple prompt, and then AI can turn that into a beautiful and professional presentations in just a few minutes. So in this video, I'm going to show you on how you can generate a professional, a good-looking presentation document using Gemini. And again, there are many ways you can do it. So let's start with something that is very simple, which is by using, well, the Gemini platform. So you can open Gemini on your computer, or maybe you can also use the mobile version of Gemini on your device. And after that, you can just describe it. You can tell AI that you want it to create a presentation document. Let me give you one example. Hey, please do a simple research and then generate a presentation document about why the sky is blue but it is red during sunset. Okay, so one thing that you need to know here is that Gemini, the Gemini model in the Gemini platform can actually do research. So it has a capability called grounding with Google search, meaning that it can perform search based on the content on the web. So it is quite possible to do a research to get the most up-to-date data and then turn it into a document. So that's just a cool capability. And also, please make sure to mention something like creating a presentation or creating a list of slides or generating a presentation document or something like that in the prompt, because it will be used to trigger the presentation tool in the Gemini platform. And after that, you can describe the topic, the key points, and styles and other things that you might want to include or use in the document. And after that, make sure to use the canvas feature. That is very important, and you can send the message and just wait for Gemini to do its own job. So this is the first method. Now, while it is still trying to generate a presentation document, let's move on with the second method, which I think is still the best when it comes to the visual, and that is by using NotebookLM. So let me just open a new tab and navigate to notebooklm.google.com. And of course, there is also the mobile version of NotebookLM that is available on, I believe, Android and iOS. And after that, you can start a new notebook, and then you can upload your documents. You can pull some research pages, some research documents. You can do that, or you can just use an existing notebook that you have on your account. So let me try maybe this one. So it is a topic that is quite interesting, the AI benchmark crisis, which is talking about why every week, every month, there's always a new AI company claiming that, hey, our models are the best, etc. Even though it's just a minor improvement. So that's a very interesting topic. But anyway, after you got all the documents, all the resources, you can click slide decks. You can click this pencil icon, and then you can choose the format or the style of the presentation document. So I personally prefer presenter slides because it is usually cleaner, it is simpler, and this is also the style that I use when I'm creating this document. So this is just one example. And here you can choose the language, you can choose the length, and you can describe or specify the things that AI must focus on in the document. It is optional, but if you want a very specific detail, then feel free to describe it right here. Now, here, after that, you can click generate. And one thing that you need to know here is that it is not an editable document. So basically, if you're creating a presentation using the slide deck feature in NotebookLM, it is actually generating a picture. So this is not a box of text. This is, I cannot edit this because this is basically just an image. It is a picture, and yeah, you can edit image, but it is not like as simple or as easy as editing a simple text. So basically, you are editing an image. It is possible to edit that, but it is, it's not very flexible, I gotta say. But the benefit is that usually the visuals are really good. You can also use some new styles that weren't used before. So those are some benefits of using this feature, this option in NotebookLM to generate a document, a presentation slide like this. So it is basically using the image model, which is Gemini Nano Banana, and it is very good. But just be mindful, because sometimes in the text there could be some mistakes. Now in this example I don't see any mistakes in the text, but the image model in Gemini is great, but it's not perfect. So just make sure that every single letter, every single word in the slide is accurate before you are using it to present the topic in front of your audience. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Now the same technology is actually used in Google Slides, so let's talk about that. Let's navigate to slides.google.com. And let me try a new blank presentation. So you'll see an option like this. Let me just select slides, and here it will open a new menu on the right side of the screen. So you can open that by clicking this banana icon. So that should give you a clue that it is using Gemini Nano Banana, which is again an image model. So these are some examples that were possible, that were created using this feature in Google Slides. Now the thing here is that you can vary descriptive when it comes to the style of your slide, and if you actually use maybe some of the prompts right here, you'll see that they are very detailed. So you can use that as sort of inspiration before you're creating your document. Now if you are not very good at prompting, and honestly I'm also not very good at prompting, I usually just copy this example and I'm going to use that on Gemini, and I'm asking Gemini to recreate that prompt for a different topic. So sorry about that, let me just copy this. And so this prompt, I'll put this in the description down below. Okay, so sorry about that. Now basically I'm asking Gemini to adapt this prompt into a different topic. So let's say the new topic would be how a black hole is formed. Okay, so that's gonna be the topic, and this is the prompt from the previous example, and it's gonna be adapted into a new topic. Let me just send a message. And by the way, if you are interested, I'm going to put this prompt in the description down below, so you can use it to adapt or change existing AI prompts for creating a presentation document. Okay, I'll copy this and let's put that right here. I'll just delete that first, paste, and click submit. I'll click the create button. So just wait for it to generate the slide, or in this case the picture. Now while it is still doing so, let's talk about another method to generate a presentation using Gemini. So earlier I just mentioned or showcased 3 examples, but there is another example, another method to create a presentation using Gemini, which is by using its coding capability. So this is actually a website. This is a web page that kind of acts like a presentation document, and absolutely you can use it to present your topic, present your material. And this one is quite interesting because it is again basically a web page, and it can be quite customizable because, well, it is just a bunch of code, and you can be assured that the text is going to be very much accurate. There is no AI image hallucination because it is just a text. Now if you want to create something like this, then you can use the Gemini platform again. And the prompt here is going to be a bit different, and there is one keyword that you must mention in the prompt. So let me just do something like, hey, generate an HTML-based web presentation that talks about why Google is winning the AI war. Okay, make sure to include something like HTML or web-based, because that will indicate that, hey, we're telling Gemini that we don't want to create a presentation in this manner. Instead, we want it to create a website that can be used to present an idea or a document or a slide, like the example that I just showed you earlier, like this one. So this is the prompt. So just make sure to include the word like HTML, because that will change. If you're not including that, then it's going to create a simple presentation like this one, which is fine, but it's not going to be as flexible as a web-based presentation. Now after that, click Tools, click Canvas, and select Pro, because after all it is coding. So click submit and just wait for the result. Now, I'll show you the result later because some presentations might have been created, but some others have not yet been created because of the process can take for some time. So I'll just skip a word and I'll show you all the results from these different methods and also how you can modify them. So I'll be back in a second. Okay, so all the presentation documents from different methods have been generated, and I'll show you how you can modify them. So let's start with this one, and this is the version where we can just use Gemini to generate a presentation document and it will just do it for us. So basically, I do not recommend to modify the slide that was created in this way, because if you do that, then it might change quite a bit in the document. In fact, it will change almost everything. So this is the original version without me editing. It's just the first iteration that was created by Gemini. It is quite decent. So my request was, I just want to change the background of this first slide into something that looks more basically I want to have some a picture of a cloud behind this slide, and that's about it. I just want to change the background. So I asked that to Gemini and I got this variation. Yeah, now there is a cloud background, but well, the slide doesn't look the same anymore. There are some similarities, but I can tell that it is not exactly in the same style. So yeah, that's one thing to note if you want to edit slides using from the document that was created in this process, in this method. And I do recommend to just download or export the slides first, and then you can edit or modify the slide manually. I think that's a lot more reliable. Now onto the NotebookLM variation. So this is the document that was created. Okay, it looks pretty good. Again, this is basically just a bunch of images, which honestly I have no problem with. I think they look really awesome. But if you want to modify them, then you have to click the revise button. So let's say I want to edit maybe let's try this, or maybe this one. So let's try this, and then I can click revise and then tell it about the thing that you want to change. So let's say I don't like something like hey, can you make the diagram to be prettier? And honestly, that's a generic input, but that's fine. And after that, click generate new deck. But I highly recommend to skim through your slides, and then you can add the comment or the change that you want AI to make. And then only after that, after you have added some comments or inputs, and then you can click generate new deck. And after that, it will regenerate the new deck. But don't worry, it will keep the design the same. It will keep the other slides that weren't changed. So I would say this editing process is more reliable than the previous method. And after that, it will generate a new document, and it's usually a lot faster because it is not creating everything from scratch. It is just editing the images or editing the slides. Now let's move on with the Google Slides variation. So this is the slide that was created, and by the way, it is possible to tell AI to generate more slides after the first slide that you just created. So let me just insert this into my slide, and I'll just insert as new slide. So to edit that, well, you can click the image and then click edit image, and then, well, just tell to AI about the thing that you want it to modify. So it is very similar to NotebookLM, given that this is basically just an image, so it is quite straightforward. So let's say please make the visual to be more cinematic. And then you can click this button to modify the slide. Now, let's move on with the last method, which is basically a web-based and HTML page that resemble a presentation document. So originally it looked like this. I think it is quite decent. It is fun, and I like the fact that it has some animation, so it's kind of adding charms into the document. Now, fortunately, given that this is just a bunch of code, it's just a web page, it is very easy to modify. And this is one example where I told AI to change the theme from dark to light, and as you can see, it is able to maintain the same design, the same visual, everything is the same, but now it has a light theme. So this is different than the classic method of modifying slide using creating a slide and modifying slides using Gemini. So yeah, it is not very good. It will change quite a bit in the original document. So I would say this web variation is more flexible than that one. So those are some methods that you can try to generate a professional, a beautiful presentation document using Gemini. And of course, you can download them to your computer. You can use them for presentation in a classroom, in an office, in a Zoom meeting, etc. So I hope you learned something from this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll wish you a great day ahead.